Hey folks! Yes, I am indeed using a comb from a cheap hotel room as a microphone handle. Thanks for noticing. If you're unfortunate enough to currently be enduring the curse of life, chances are that you're being affected in some way, shape or form by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. And even less fortunately, how you're being affected by it depends a whole lot on the response of the government of the country that you happen to live in, or got trapped in when all the borders were closed. So I want to talk about the government response here in Argentina, because, well, it's where I live if you didn't know. And I think that over here they've also done a pretty good job of doing everything that needed to be done as soon as possible, while also putting human lives above everything else. Especially considering that, like, the president of neighboring Brazil has been attending mass rallies in the streets where he hugs and shakes hands with everyone, while brain geniuses in the USA are presently out protesting for their God-given right to be infected and infect everyone else. Argentina's response has also been breaking a lot of libertarian brains, as they come to the realization that their ideology is just wholly incapable of fostering the cooperation needed to confront a crisis like this one. So of course, I'm gonna cover that too. I mean, how could I possibly resist? Interesting, topical information combined with dunking on libertarians. What more could you possibly ask for? Join me on this journey into the abyss, and also indoors. So I filmed that intro for a video for my main channel, but then decided that the topic didn't really fit there. But never fear, because here I am on the Empanada Report, making a video based on it anyway. Yeah. So well, there's been a mandatory nationwide quarantine here since March 20th, when there were 128 confirmed cases. And it keeps being extended since then. I believe the current end date is May 10th. Which may then be extended more. And all of this has been working really well, actually. While Argentina does have a relatively low testing rate, people who die with symptoms are being tested, and the death count from the virus here is far lower than basically every other country in the region. So anyway, here in Argentina, the curve has been totally flat for like weeks now. Like, the amount of daily new cases and deaths has been the same, basically every day or there or thereabouts. So the healthcare system is well under capacity still, and it's likely going to stay that way even if things are opened up a little bit more. So yeah, all things considered, it's gone really well. The government has mostly done what's needed to be done, and everyone seems to understand the gravity of actually, staying at home and complying. 80% of people agree with the quarantine, and I haven't seen any instances of idiots protesting or whatever like in other countries. Everyone's social distancing. God, I hate that term. It's great to go out and see that the few people in the street are all, wearing masks and taking care of each other. All that sort of stuff. Great. Even the provincial governors from opposition parties, who usually totally hate the governing Peronists, are still going along with everything and cooperating. Of course, it's hardly perfect or anything, and it's come at pretty much the worst time possible with the economic crisis here and all. But God, it could have been about a million billion times worse. Argentina is supposed to be a crazy, messed up third world country run by huge idiots, while the first world is apparently rational and intelligent and all of those positive adjectives. But well, when it came down to it, that idea doesn't really seem that accurate anymore, does it? But hey, you're not really here to hear about any of this. You don't care about what's going on down here in wider Chile, also known as South Mexico. You care about the libertarians and conservatives, ripe and ready to be dunked on. You're sick of the usual Ben Shapiro and Stefan Molyneux. You want new faces. You want Ben Shapiro, but in Spanish. Well, I haven't quite got Ben Shapiro for you, but I do have the clip of a lifetime. Here in Argentina, despite the fact that libertarians and neoliberals are incredibly unpopular, they're shoved in our face 24/7 by the news media that is, shockingly, owned by them. Basically, every single news commentator in the country is a free market capitalist ideologue. And every single one of them is the same too. Daddy sends them to private schools, private universities, gives them an allowance until they're 30 years old, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, they're just on your TV screen telling you what you should think about politics. It's like there's a libertarian fail-son factory or something. Where do they come from? No one knows. They just show up, they just appear. So anyway, here's two of them becoming status in real time on live television. One of them, Jonathan Viale, is more popularly known as what I will translate as the Milky Boy. Because look at him. You're not going to tell me that guy is not full of milk. He absolutely is. Why is he on TV? Well, because his dad basically invented Argentine trash TV. He's like the Argentine Maury Povich, kind of. I mean, his name is even Mauro, which is like Mauri, Mauro, same thing. And of course, thanks to his dad's connections, his son is now of course on TV every goddamn day, advocating for poor people to never get any government help ever. And the other guy, Eduardo Feynman, is the same but 20 years older. And that's all the context that you need. Just watch the video, it really speaks for itself.
Lo clave que es el rol del Estado hoy. Por ahí no nos estamos dando cuenta. Yo no soy muy afecto al estado elefantiásico y que se mete en todo y que se te mete por la mirilla de tu casa. Pero indudablemente en toda guerra, en toda situación tan dramática como esta, indudablemente el Estado tiene que estar fuerte y presente todo el tiempo, ¿no? Presente, poderoso, que acompañe y que acompañe a todos los sectores, absolutamente a todos, al más bajo, al medianito, al mediano, a todos los sectores.
Acá no hay cuestiones ideológicas que valgan,
No.
porque acá el mercado no te salva.
Único enemigo
Sí.
es el virus.
Por eso,
El
acá,
único enemigo hoy por hoy es el virus.
en una situación de pandemia, en una situación crítica, no hay mercado, no hay farmacia.
No hay nada, está todo destruido.
No existe.
Claro.
Yup, that's two libertarians who've just had their brains melted, and not from being debunked by epic YouTube videos, but by just like observable reality. The libertarians are becoming status before our very eyes, and it is glorious. Another one who's louder and shoved into our faces more than either of those two is Javier Milei. Milei is a so-called libertarian economist, unironically of the Austrian school, who, like every other libertarian, was paid by his parents to attend private university until he was about 30 years old, and then just randomly started showing up on TV, telling us why poor people shouldn't get welfare payments ever after just spending the last 10 years living off an allowance from his dad. Here he is in his confused glory. The model of quarantine that's being applied is clearly influenced by the nefarious infectious disease experts. They aren't part of the solution, they're part of the problem. Right, why should we listen to infectious disease experts during a pandemic? Who knows, right? He then goes on to complain about a lack of production, as if he actually thinks that there's literally zero production going on right now. If production is zero, the money you have isn't going to be useful for anything because there won't be anything to buy. Hey buddy, this might surprise you, but everything that people actually need right now during the quarantine is still being produced. But obviously his idea of production is about overproduction, not about actual essentials. So yeah. But wait, so he clearly thinks the quarantine is bad, right? So what is his alternative proposal? Well, private healthcare clinics could have a conference and recommend that people don't leave their house or do so as little as possible to avoid the costs associated with infecting other people. So his solution is exactly what's already happening, except he wants it to be run by the private sector who would simply make recommendations rather than actually enforce anything, I guess. I guess so that he could take credit for the exact same thing for the free market rather than having to admit that the state is actually already doing exactly what he wants. That's some next level mental gymnastics. But he's not done yet. The finale is the best part. This incredible tweet. The power of the market. The failure of statism is shown by the state requesting that we don't leave our homes. Because if you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of others. Pure Adam Smith. Okay, so the government tells you to stay home and literally makes not doing so against the law, but actually that's apparently voluntary and shows the power of the free market. The state is simply asking people nicely and they're voluntarily complying, thus proving the power of the free market. Adam Smith, baby! No one tell him about all the things that Adam Smith said that were completely contradictory to his ideology. So let's sum him up. It's wrong that the government is enforcing a quarantine, but anyway, the same quarantine should continue but be run by private companies. Also, even if the government is enforcing the quarantine with like cops and the law and all that sort of stuff, it's still the free market, baby. I get all the credit, yeah. And yeah, I did just kind of say that the quarantine is bad, but it would be good if we had the same thing but the private sector in charge. His brain is literally exploding and it's glorious. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about. This stuff is absolutely hilarious and I love it. Libertarians are never-ending fun until they influence things. At least something about this pandemic is funny. I hope that you're all doing well and getting through this as best as you can. I wonder what the world is going to look like on the other side. Hopefully, a little bit less libertarian, or at least with less libertarians on my TV screen. Please. Empanada Report out, folks.